Just think about that for a second. A $30 billion industry brought to its knees by one person. It sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood movie, right? Well, this story is very, very real.
And this is the man himself, Yusuf Hamied. His story is without a doubt one of the most incredible, controversial, and, well, important stories in the history of modern medicine.
So let's get right into it. This is the story of the man they called the medicine pirate. To really get who this guy was, you have to look at where he came from. You see, his entire worldview was forged in the fire of some of the 20th century's darkest moments. I mean, just imagine that heritage for a moment. His father, a Muslim scientist from India, his mother, a Jewish woman from Europe. They came together right at the moment the world was about to tear itself apart over those very same lines of nation and religion.
So even though he grew up in India, the trauma his mother's family went through, I mean, the unbelievable scale of that loss, it was always there, this quiet but constant presence in his life. And it taught him a lesson he would never forget about what happens when systems completely fail humanity.
For a long time, that history was just, his backstory. But then 1972 hit and boom, everything was about to change. His life, his company, his entire purpose were about to be totally redefined.
So his father, Khwaja Abdul Hamid, he's the one who started the pharmaceutical company Cipla way back in 1935. He spent decades building it from absolutely nothing. When he passed away, Yusuf didn't just lose a father, he inherited a legacy.
And he put it perfectly himself. The moment his father died, it wasn't about grief. He said it was the sudden, crushing weight of responsibility. He wasn't just a son anymore, he was now the man in charge of a global company and the promise his father had made to serve the people of India. And that responsibility? Well, it was about to put him on a collision course with some of the most powerful forces on the entire planet. For him, this was never just about business competition. No, this was a fight for people's lives. I mean, look at the sheer scale of the opposition here. This wasn't just another company he was up against. He was taking on the entire architecture of the global economy. These ironclad patent laws protecting monopolies, immense political pressure from the World Trade Organization, the incredibly powerful U.S. pharma lobby, and, of course, the constant threat of being sued into oblivion. So to the establishment, he wasn't some kind of innovator. Nope. To them, he was a thief, a pirate, looking to steal their intellectual property. That name was meant to be an insult, but it ended up becoming a badge of honor for a man fighting a system that he believed was just fundamentally broken. Then, the AIDS crisis hits the developing world like a tidal wave in the 90s. Hamid knew he had to do something, but he couldn't just charge in headfirst. That would be suicide. He needed a different plan, a quiet but totally revolutionary decision. Now, here's where it gets really brilliant. Everyone just assumed he was going to rip off their drugs, illegally copy them. But that wasn't his real genius. He didn't just steal the final product. Instead, he reverse-engineered the entire manufacturing process. He figured out a new, much more efficient way to make the same life-saving cocktail of drugs for just a fraction of the cost. So back in 2001, the life-saving triple cocktail therapy for AIDS cost $10,000 per person, per year. For millions of people in Africa and Asia, that was an impossible number. It was a literal death sentence. And then Hamid drops a bomb. He announces that Cipla would offer the exact same therapy, not for $10,000, but for $300. That's less than $1 a day. And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? He created an absolute earthquake in the industry. It wasn't a price cut, it was a total demolition of the existing market. This one move didn't just challenge the system, it broke it wide open, changing global healthcare forever. The shockwaves from that $300 decision, they were absolutely massive. It created a brand new reality for patients, for his company, Cipla, and for Hamid himself. And the results, well, they speak for themselves. Cipla became a pharma giant, worth over $15 billion. Yusuf Hamied became a billionaire. But let's be real, the most important number here isn't measured in dollars. It's the millions of lives saved. People who were given a future because medicine was finally affordable. What he really did was prove that it was possible to run a hugely successful business while also serving a deep humanitarian mission. He didn't just win the game, he completely changed how the game was played. But, his legacy isn't that simple. It's complicated. And even today, people are fiercely divided. Was he a hero or a villain? A savior or someone who just broke the system? The answer really depends on who you ask. From the perspective of the major pharmaceutical companies, he completely undermined the patent system that pays for all the research and development. In their words, he broke the system. But if you ask the developing nations and health advocates, you get a very different answer. He saved us. And that's really the core question his whole life story forces us all to look at. This isn't just some simple legal or business debate, it's a moral one. Where do we draw the line between protecting intellectual property and the fundamental right to stay alive? So what he left behind was this powerful blueprint, what you could almost call the Hamied doctrine. Number 1, long-term thinking always beats shortcuts. 2, quiet, hard work is way more important than loud fame. And 3, a real legacy is built on ethics, not on flashy headlines. In the end, Yusuf Hamied's story leaves us with this really powerful idea. Look, lots of people can build wealth and disrupt a market, but very, very few people have the courage to challenge the world's most powerful systems in the name of a principle, reminding us all that some billionaires change markets and some change humanity itself.